Hello, Journal. Grandpa Stick here, and boy, do I have some thoughts to sort through today. I've been watching what's happening on this very platform we're using, and it's got my head spinning faster than a washing machine with an unbalanced load. YouTube Shorts, faceless channels. Apparently, that's all the rage now. And here I am, an old guy who still thinks of YouTube as that place where teenagers post videos of their cats doing backflips. Before I dive into my confusion, let me remind you about our Stick Around for More community newsletter. If you enjoy these journal wanderings, subscribers get early access to my contemplations, plus the deeper thoughts that don't always make it into these videos. Links in the description. It's free, and it helps me build a little corner of the internet where faces still matter and conversations last longer than 15 seconds. Now, let me crack open this journal and work through what I've been observing. Had the most bewildering conversation with my neighbor's teenage grandson yesterday. He was going on about making money with YouTube Shorts, and I spent 10 minutes wondering why anyone would pay to watch videos of his summer wardrobe. See, when I was his age, shorts meant those khaki cutoffs you wore when the temperature hit 80. Usually too short because your mother bought them when you were 12 and insisted they still had wear in them. My mother used to say, nobody needs to see that much kneecap, and certainly not the neighbors. Now, apparently, shorts are 60-second videos that can make you rich, which, honestly, makes about as much sense as anything else these days. Back in my day, if you wanted to make money in 60 seconds, you were either very good at something or very bad at picking career paths. But here's what gets me. These short videos are everywhere. People watching them while they eat, while they walk, while they're supposed to be having conversations with actual humans. It's like the whole world developed the attention span of a goldfish. But somehow that became a business opportunity. Been doing some research on this faceless channel phenomenon, and I have to say, it's got me scratching my head. People are making entire careers without ever showing their faces, just voices, stock footage, and what I can only describe as elevator music. Now, the only faceless folks I knew growing up were the mannequins in Patterson's department store window. And even they were better dressed than most of us on Sunday morning. Back in my day, if you wanted to get noticed, you didn't hide behind a curtain. You shined up your shoes, combed your hair with actual hair tonic, and marched yourself down to Murphy's barbershop. If old Mr. Murphy said, "Looking sharp today, son," that was our version of going viral. Took weeks to get over the validation. But these young entrepreneurs, they've figured out how to build entire audiences without ever shaking a hand or looking someone in the eye. Part of me is impressed. Another part of me wonders if we're raising a generation that thinks human connection comes with a mute button. You know what occurred to me while I was shaving this morning? All these faceless creators are missing out on something important. The story that a face tells. Every line on my face is a chapter. That crow's foot by my left eye, that's from 43 years of laughing at my wife's terrible jokes. The scar on my chin, That's from learning that bicycles and gravel don't mix when you're 57 and think you're still 27. These young folks making faceless content, they might have the technical skills, but they're missing the human connection. When I see someone's face, I know if they're being genuine. I can tell if they've lived through some things, if they've earned a right to give advice about life. Sure, my face has more mileage on it than it used to, but each mile was earned through experience, failure, learning, and getting back up again. That's not something you can fake with stock footage and a smooth voice. Here's something that's been rattling around in my brain. Maybe these 60-second videos are exactly what us older folks have been waiting for. Think about it. After 50, you've developed what I call wisdom efficiency. We don't need 15 minutes of background music and fancy graphics to make a point. We can cut straight to what matters. We've lived long enough to know the difference between information and insight. Young people spend 20 minutes explaining what they're about to explain. We just explain it. They need ring lights and 17 camera angles. We just need to look you in the eye and tell you what we've learned. Besides, let's be honest, attention spans today are shorter than a teenager's first job. If you can't make your point before the coffee gets cold, you've lost them anyway. Maybe the real advantage isn't having a young face. It's having something worth saying. Been thinking about this whole faceless trend, and I realized something. For those of us over 60, showing our face isn't the problem. Not showing it is. We come from an era where connection meant looking someone in the eye, shaking their hand firmly, and maybe giving them a pat on the shoulder. We learned that trust comes from seeing how someone carries themselves, how they react when they think nobody's watching. This faceless approach feels like trying to have a heart-to-heart conversation through a closed door. You might hear the words, but you're missing the raised eyebrow that says, "I'm kidding," or the slight smile that means, "I've been exactly where you are." At my age, authenticity isn't just what I bring to the table. It's the table itself. Every gray hair, every laugh line, every moment when I pause to remember where I put my reading glasses. That's all part of the story I'm telling. I close this week's contemplations. I keep coming back to this. Maybe I don't need to choose between old school authenticity and new school efficiency. I can embrace these YouTube shorts. They are perfect for dropping a nugget of wisdom and getting out before I overstay my welcome. But I'm keeping my face in the frame. These wrinkles and gray hairs aren't bugs in the system. They're features that prove I've earned a right to share what I've learned. The kids can keep their faceless channels and mysterious voices. I'll stick with what's worked for 65 years, showing up as myself, looking you in the eye, and trusting that authenticity never goes out of style. Besides, if I went faceless, how would you know when I'm trying not to laugh at my own jokes? Well, there you have it. My thoughts on shorts that aren't clothing and faces that aren't showing. It's a strange new world, but maybe there's room in it for those of us who remember when connection required actually connecting. If these musings made you smile or think, don't forget about our Stick Around for More newsletter. It's where I share the deeper thoughts that don't fit into 60 seconds, and where we build a community of folks who believe that some conversations are worth having face to face, even if it's through a screen. Until next time, keep your shorts comfortable, your face genuine, and remember, the best stories come from people who've lived long enough to have some worth telling. This is Grandpa Stick signing off, with my face clearly visible and my dignity mostly intact. P.S. Listening to my rambling got me thinking, you probably have journal entries of your own worth writing. That's why I created Still 25 in my head, a companion journal for capturing your own memories, lessons, and the occasional brilliant insight that comes with living long enough to have some. Your stories matter just as much as mine do.